One, the crazy viewership. All right, it was ridiculous for this Liberty Fever game that just happened. And then, of course, some mileage that some people flew just to see this. So looking at it here, it says the Indiana Fever and New York Liberty game on June 14, 2025 drew a large viewership with 2.22 million viewers, man. Oh my goodness.
Imagine being the face of the league, breaking records, selling out arenas, and then getting snubbed for a merch launch like you're the intern. Yep, the WNBA Players Union just picked A.A. Wilson and Angel Ree over Caitlin Clark, and the internet is basically on fire. Is this a power move, a petty play, or just bad PR dressed in team colors? Buckle up, because this tea is hotter than a courtside seat at a Liberty game.
Today, guess who's back again. Caitlin's back. Tell Caitlin Clark Kent back in action. Where do I even start? 32 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, 7 threes, 11 for 20 in only 31 minutes of basketball. The Indiana Fever say, come on, New York. Come on. Somebody's got to give you this first L, and I guess it's going to be us. No Jonquel Jones, but the Indiana Fever handled business.
They could have just handed Caitlin Clark the crown of throne in a warehouse full of sold-out merch. But nope, instead, they pulled a stunt that was so obvious, it practically screamed, we'd rather sink this ship than let her steer it. Because when the WNBA Players Union rolled out their shiny new merch campaign and conveniently left out the league's biggest ticket seller, since everyone knew exactly what time was not endorsement o'clock, nope, it was a petty hour with side of performative unity.
The GOAT. It can only be one GOAT, man. It can only be one GOAT. What a performance by Cece. Man, this was well worth the wait. We've been waiting patiently. We've been itching, waiting for her to make her return. And boy, did she come back with a vengeance. Boy, did she come back letting the world know what they have been.
Now, let's get one thing clear. Caitlin Clark didn't turn this deal down. She didn't ghost him. She wasn't too busy practicing logo threes or autographing baby onesies. She was never even invited to the party. Because, let's be honest, if she had been part of that merch rollout, her case would have sold out before breakfast. And the others, well, never buys.
As I discussed before, Caitlin Clark, this is her first game back in 4 or 5 games after dealing with the quad injury. And she did not disappoint. Came out with 32 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, almost a triple-double. But 7 3-pointers, y'all. And she was hitting them from 40 feet. Like, she was literally shooting from anywhere, and it was cashing out. In fact, at one point in time, she hit a ridiculous one that Stewie just had to throw her hands up and they laughed all the way back down the floor because even she knew it was ridiculous.
And therein lies the problem, not that Caitlin is too controversial, not that she's too new. No, the issue is that she's too successful. She's a player whose jersey is flying off the shelves like it's limited edition Beyonce merch. She's the one filling arenas and doubling TV ratings. The optics, yeah, those are fine. The economics even better. But the feelings, oh, now we've hit the landmine. Because if Caitlin's merch sells out in a blink while everyone else's is collecting digital dust, then we're not talking unity anymore. We're talking reality, and that's what they don't want.
So this is major, man. This is major. Shout out to Caitlin with the motion. Caitlin with the motion, man. We already know what's going on with that, man. Great game. The competitiveness, the love between the team. Like, it was a really good game, man.
So instead of lifting up the rising tide that could carry the whole league, they decided to pretend the tsunami didn't exist. Brilliant. It's like organizing a pizza party and leaving out the cheese because you don't want to offend the crust. News, flash, the crust doesn't carry the flavor. Caitlin is the flavor. And this league just tried to convince everyone that flavor doesn't matter if it's not politically convenient. And look, this isn't about who's black, who's white, or who can dunk and warm-ups. This is about what happens when excellence doesn't come from the proved storyline, when someone blows past all the gatekeepers with raw skill work ethic and a radar lock aim from the logo, and the old guard doesn't know whether to clap or call security. It's not that they didn't see Caitlin Clark coming, it's that they didn't want her to arrive. And now that she's here, they're fumbling every chance to capitalize on it, without looking like they're admitting she changed the game. So what's the strategy? Apparently, it's passive-aggressive exclusion with a sprinkle of corporate cowardice. A.A. Wilson and Angel Reese got the nod, and sure, they're talented, marketable, and have fan bases.
So, lads, Caitlin Clark playing one of the 3 best games of her career against the undefeated New York Liberty. You can't even, like, has basically broken. It has broken the Caitlin Clark haters. So,
but let's not pretend this choice wasn't engineered to keep the merch field balanced, even if that meant ignoring the player, who had outsold everyone combined. Because heaven forbid a rookie white girl from Iowa make everyone else's sales look like clearance bins a sad part. This isn't just a missed opportunity. It's a mirror held up to the league's own insecurities. They want growth visibility dollars, but they want on their terms in Caitlin Clark. She doesn't play by that script she showed. Up drop buckets and accidentally expose the system now. Instead of riding that wave, they're trying to capsize the boat while smiling for the cameras. This is a kind of chess where someone flips the board mid-aim and then declares checkmate. The league can pretend this was about diversity or representation or whatever buzzword makes the exclusion sound noble. But everyone saw it. Everyone felt it. You don't bench your MVP in the name of inclusion. That's not strategy. That's sabotage disguised as sentiment. And let's not ignore the undertone here, because if this were about fairness or equity, they'd have included Caitlin Clark as the powerhouse she is. But what we got instead was a subtle little whisper that says, you can be great, but don't be too great, not too fast, not too loud. It's the same tired tune they've been humming since forever.
I do not want to hear any Caitlin Clark slander after today's game. I do not want to hear any Caitlin Clark slander after today's game. As you guys know, I was going to give my quad up for Caitlin Clark. I was giving my wife's quad up for Caitlin Clark. I was giving up anyone's quad for Caitlin Clark. Got told she was going to play today, and I was like, she's probably going to take it light. 32 points? 32 points? I think she had like 6 rebounds, 8 assists, maybe vice versa. Like, absolutely insane.
Be amazing, but don't outshine the veterans break records. But do it quietly, sell tickets, but make sure no one feels outperformed. Meanwhile, Caitlin keeps showing up smiling and launching threes from the parking lot. She's a storm they can't outrun. Instead of embracing it, they're trying to plug the holes with PR Band-Aids. It's actually hilarious, like watching someone deny there's a fire while standing in front of a burning scoreboard, and every time she delivers on the court, the silence from certain corners gets louder, not because she's wrong, but because she's undeniable. The irony, the snub only made her bigger. The merch rollout might have been meant to sideline her, but instead it turned into a masterclass in what not to do with your most bankable star. Fans noticed, sponsors noticed, the media noticed, the only ones pretending not to notice the same folks who thought this exclusion would fly under the radar like a lazy layup. Spoiler, it didn't. It dunked on them hard, but the WNBA. They're busy playing identity politics over simple economics. Instead of capitalizing on a generational moment, they're curating participation trophies. Instead of leaning into momentum, Caitlin created their pretending it doesn't exist, like fans can't see what's happening with their own eyes, like we can't Google jersey sales or ticket prices, like we can't tell the difference between merit and manufactured quality. So let's call it what it is. This wasn't an oversight. It wasn't a timing issue. It wasn't a clerical error. This was deliberate. And the message was clear. You can break records, but you can't break and not unless you do it their way, at their pace, in their uniform.
They asked me why I did not care about the Fever going 2-3 while Caitlin Clark was out. They asked me why I didn't really care about Stephanie White's offensive philosophies without Caitlin Clark. Well, here we are, back in effect. The Indiana Fever hand the New York Liberty their first loss of the season in Caitlin Clark's return game. Huge Saturday afternoon battle, national TV. Caitlin Clark drops 32 points, 9 assists, 8 boards, 7 made threes, the only player in WNBA history with that stat line, and basically announces to the league game.
Caitlin Clark didn't follow that blueprint. She rewrote it. And that's exactly why she's being boxed out. Campaign that should have been hers to headline. If Caitlin had been included, the sales would have told the truth. And that truth would have made a few egos feel very, very small. So they did the next best thing. They acted like her success was some kind of glitch in the system, like she just wandered into the W and tripped over 1 million fans. But the only thing Caitlin Clark tripped over was the fragility of a system built to protect the status quo. And what's wild is the fans know the fans aren't confused. They see who's putting up numbers. They see who's changing the game. They see who's got the juice, the charisma, the shot, the heat. And no amount of curated rollouts or forced narratives is going to change the fact that Caitlin Clark is the moment the league can either embrace it or keep fumbling the bag. At this point, Caitlin Clark might as well call up a EuroLeague team, because the WNBA has made it crystal clear they don't want to shine anywhere near their spotlight. The best-selling, record-breaking, arena-filling ratings, exploding phenom is being treated like she's the understudy to two of the most unlikable characters this league has ever tried to pass off as the faces of the future.
And just like that, she's back. Caitlin Clark drops 35 after her 5-game layoff from injury. It was at a point where she scored 9 points in less than 45 seconds. I mean, crossing the half-point line, one dribble, and just pulling it from the logo. Like, these plays are just mind-blowing. Y'all know she definitely got a tech for yelling at a ref, too. That's, like, prime Caitlin Clark. It was at a point where she pulled from the logo, and her and Stewart were just laughing because it was just that unbelievable. I told y'all, face of the league, you can't deny it. How this can translate into the postseason, y'all about to see the Indiana Fever make a real run. They got the players, they got the fan base, they got the star. All they need to do is make that deep run into the playoffs and actually give them a chance to do something big.
And yes, we're talking about Ozza Wilson and Angel Reese, the WNBA's attempt at forced charisma, two players who by sheer media overexposure and sideline dramatics have earned more eye rolls and applause. But when it came time for the WNBA Players Union to roll out a merch campaign that could have genuinely launched sales into the stratosphere, who did they pick? The pair whose jerseys are barely selling in states they live in. It's almost impressive how dedicated they are to ignoring the obvious. Caitlin Clark is the most popular athlete in America, yes, including those guys dunking in the NBA, throwing footballs on Sundays, or pretending to be humble on GQ covers. She is the moment, the culture, the algorithm, the girl whose name your grandma knows even if she can't pronounce W.
And much to the credit of Caitlin Clark, this team won a massive, massive game. It was not without flaws, believe it or not. If I wanted to, we could really get into it, but we won't as much. Number one of the greatest single half performances I've ever seen in basketball.
But no, instead of embracing the meteor blazing across their bland sky, they tether themselves to players who inspire Twitter rants instead of ticket sales. You know why Caitlin's not in that merch drop. Because if she was, no one else would move anything. And that's not speculation. That's economics. If Caitlin Clark had a merch booth next to everyone else, the rest would look like a garage sale during a thunderstorm. So they didn't add her not because she didn't want it, but because her success is too loud, too undeniable, too inconvenient. It's almost poetic how the WNBA keeps tripping over its own shoelaces just to prove a point that no one is asking them to make. They could ride this wave. They could put Caitlin on every billboard, slap her face on every lunchbox, and finally rake in a revenue they've been chasing for decades. But no pride before profit ego, before growth politics, before popularity. They'd rather struggle with equity than succeed with Caitlin. And let's be honest, this isn't about giving everyone a chance. This is about shielding egos from the harsh light of merit. Because if Caitlin's merch sold 10 times more than everyone else's, which it would, that's not just a reflection of her popularity. That's a direct indictment of the league status quo. So instead of saying, hey, this girl might be the future, they've decided to pretend she's just a passing trend with a nice jump shot genius move.
Caitlin Clark three-point distance in the first half was 34 feet, 28 feet, 27 feet, 31 feet, 27 feet. The third three-point line is 22 feet away. Guys, talk about growth.
It would be hilarious if it wasn't so embarrassingly transparent, like watching a restaurant refuse to serve its best dish because it makes the soup look bad. Ozza Wilson. Maybe a decent player, sure, Angel Reese might grab headlines for all the wrong reasons, but try at manufacture likability, while the most beloved athlete in the country gets treated like a distraction. That's next level delusion. Caitlin Clark didn't just show up and ask for attention. Meanwhile, the WNBA's idea of marketing is trying to convince everyone that water isn't wet and mediocrity is a virtue. And it's not like the fans haven't noticed every arena is packed when Caitlyn's in town. Every broadcast hits new highs when she's on the court. Even the haters can't stop watching. She is single-handedly the engine driving attention, revenue, and relevance. And yet the league keeps tossing banana peels in front of her like they're trying to win Mario Kart instead of. Grow a sport.
Clark is back. She was out almost 3 weeks due to a quad injury, but was cleared to make her return against the defending champion and undefeated New York Liberty. Or at least they were. The Indiana Fever beat the New York Liberty 102-88. And on her first night back, Caitlin Clark was cooking. She scored 25 points in the first half alone. Damn. She finished the game with 32 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, and shot 55% from the field and 50% from beyond the arc, hitting 7 threes. This was a great win for the Indiana Fever as a whole, and hopefully they can carry this momentum going forward, because I think they're a lot better than what their record currently shows. But as far as Caitlin Clark goes, to the most dynamic player in the WNBA, welcome back.
The irony is off the charts. The WNBA spent years begging for visibility, crying out for support, and demanding to be taken seriously. Now they have it. But because it came in the form of a sharpshooting white girl from Iowa with generational talent and no tolerance for drama, they act like it's a problem, like success is somehow threatening, like winning too hard is bad for the brand if this league were a business run by grown-ups. Caitlyn would already have signature merch, a sneaker deal, and a marketing budget that didn't require GoFundMe. Instead, she's getting left out of basic campaigns because her dominance might make the others look average. And let's not mince words. This isn't about fair representation. This is about fear that the narrative they've tried to curate for years is being shattered by someone who didn't ask permission to be great. But here's the plot twist. They didn't expect snubbing Caitlyn doesn't dim her light. It just makes the absurdity louder. The fans will still show up, the cameras will still pan to her, the analysts will still have to talk about her, because the numbers don't lie, and neither do the crowds. And every time someone asks why she's not featured, the WNBA's answer gets more awkward than a team huddle after a 30-point loss.
Just want to let you know you have a huge fan base in Hong Kong.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And
hopefully I'll get there one day.
And today, there are 5 Hong Kong fans fly from Hong Kong to
No
Indiana.
way. Oh my gosh.
And the hour is 22 hours.
No way. Oh
so
my goodness. Well, I wish I could have met them.
Just want to say this, including me.
If you know them, tell them thank you for coming. That's incredible.
Yeah. So any plans you will visit Hong Kong with your teams in the future years?
Yeah, maybe we'll head to Hong Kong after the season. I mean, I certainly hope to go to Hong Kong one day. It's incredible to see the type of reach that we can have and how much people love basketball across the globe. So that's really cool. So if you know them, tell them I say hello and thanks for coming as well.
Yeah, thank you. Hope one day to show you around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fam, 22-hour flight all the way to Indiana to not only give the interview, but to watch her ball. Oh my goodness.
So maybe Europe is a move-a place where talent isn't buried under politics, where merch is sold based on demand, not diplomacy, where the best player on the court isn't treated like an inconvenient guest at her own celebration. Because right now the WNBA is fumbling the biggest gift it's ever received on purpose. And the longer they keep this up, the more ridiculous they look. Caitlin Clark is the reason anything is selling. She's the reason people are talking. She's the reason arenas are filled with dads, moms, and teenagers who couldn't name 5 WNBA players last year. And if she's not getting the respect she deserves here, well, there's a whole world out there that would love to give her the throne she's already earned. After all, it's hard to sell a revolution when your MVP is stuck riding the bench of your